All right, guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I told you I would be back, okay? And we have a lot to talk about. Today, of course, like many days, I see another alarming story about a woman who is now an amputee. She got her leg removed because of a bacteria that ate through her leg and they weren't able to stop it. I know that that's kind of a crazy and ridiculous way to start the video, but this video is going to be one of those videos where I just talk about some of the crazy, insane stories that people have come to me and shared with me. Just so you know, I do have a form that you can submit an anonymous story or you can submit publicly in my super link. I will attach that link below in the description as well. So if you or a friend or a loved one or someone you know would like to submit a story that's similar to, what I experienced with me fighting my flesh-eating skin disease, I would love to not only discuss with permission, of course, that story on my YouTube channel, but also in my fight for legislative change. The number one thing that they want to see is news coverage, which that's something that we already have going. I've been on a lot of different medias and different news channels that have been covering my story, and that's great. But also, they need to see other stories and cases like mine, especially one related to med spas and cosmetic procedures, because if they don't see a number or a volume of cases like mine, they're not going to take it seriously. And when it comes time for me to push and have that petition where I need people signing, I also need unfortunately, victims like myself who are ready to stand up and fight with me. But in the meantime, I'm just going to be a voice for change and I'm going to do everything I can to get in contact with the right people. But nonetheless, I still want to hear your story, even if it has nothing to do with me fighting for legislative change. So today, I am going to be talking about some of those crazy stories that people have DM'd me or things that I have seen on social media or just on news channels, okay? So the first one that I want to get started with is kind of what inspired me to make this episode so early out in the gate anyways. I don't know who Megan James is, but I have a tweet where she says, "So one of my homegirls lost her leg due to flesh-eating bacteria in the Bahamas. She shaved her leg, nicked herself with the razor, and then went to Pig Island." That's where they swim with the pigs. 4 weeks later, no leg. They couldn't figure out what it was until it was too late. That's crazy. One, I feel absolutely horrible for this woman who has lost her leg. And I can say without a doubt, I don't know who this woman is. Maybe we will never know. If it wasn't for me speaking out on social media, quite literally, nobody would know about me, who I am, or my story, or my flesh-eating bacteria either. I could have, hidden away and not be doing all the things that I'm doing. But it's really important for us to kind of share these stories too, because you never know how quickly life can hit you. And also at the same time, when it comes to these flesh-eating bacterias, it's I remember when I was 23, I didn't even comprehend or know. I was so ignorant to the fact that something like Mycobacterium could even exist in the world. And first, we got to spread awareness about the fact that there are some really crazy bacterial infections out there, and there are some insane flesh-eating bacterias that unfortunately can do what they do before the doctors can find a solution. Had doctors not been able to find a solution for me in due time, I would have died. And so that's how quickly these things can escalate. And in many cases like this, the only option that doctors have is to remove the infected site. And so it's literally a life and death situation. Most likely in this situation, had she not gotten her leg amputated, it probably would have gotten into the blood and organs of her body, and she would have died regardless. So that leads me to another story of mine. I'm not going to say his full name, but a man named Travis, he did message me about how he too had Mycobacterium, and he messaged me this. He said, "Hi, my daughter sent me your video, and I just want to say I went through a similar situation with Mycobacterium. I almost died as well. My situation was made worse by a misdiagnosis and treatment for it. It started in my left index finger and started to go up my left arm. I lost some use of my left hand from everything, and I have scars all over my arm from it. Fortunately, my doctor was able to stop it before it went into my body. He said that if he couldn't, he would have had to take my arm. You can look up my story on the show Mystery Diagnosis. We sent the show an email and told them about my story, and they did an episode with me. I'm glad you're okay. I just wanted to share my story with you. And I actually saw the pictures of what his mycobacterium looked like in his hand and arm, and wow. I mean, some of these other cases of mycobacterium that I have seen make my hospital photos look like nothing serious. I mean, some of these photos that I have seen, for example, there's this one woman who had her entire torso removed because she got mycobacterium from liposuction. They had to completely remove all of the skin, all of the tissue down to her abdominal wall and leave it open for months. I think she was open for like 6 to 9 months. She had extreme hospital care. And even in her legs, they had to remove all the tissue down her quads because she unfortunately also had lipo in her legs. She is the most extreme case of mycobacterium that I have ever seen. I am not going to share any more information about her case because I don't have permission, but I mean, there are some really extreme cases out there where the doctor's only option is to remove and surgically cut out as much of that infection as possible. And that doesn't mean that that person doesn't have to be on antibiotics. That person has to get everything taken out, and on top of that, still go through similar antibiotic regimens that I had to go through. Now, I want to talk about breast implants and women who have come to me who have lost their breasts because of mycobacterium, and there are some other infectious diseases where women have gotten breast implants, but I want to stick to mycobacterium specifically. Anyways, 2 women in Jupiter, Florida went to the same surgeon. Again, I can't say these names because then I'm going to get sued, and these doctors have a lot more money than I do. So this doctor infected 2 women getting breast implants, and the doctor said to the victim, "It had been years since this has happened to anyone else under my care. The person that got it before had a much shorter treatment who only lasted about 2 to 3 months on IV antibiotics, while the second victim lasted 2 years in total, and she had to go those 2 years without a breast as well. This doesn't include other stories about women who I know who have completely lost both their breasts because they had a mycobacterium outbreak in their breasts. There is another surgeon in Miami, Florida, that had a breakout of over 20 women with mycobacterium abscessus who were getting BBLs. Now, I talked to a famous plastic surgeon of mine who I really have had the pleasure of getting close to. It's Dr. Ricky Brown. He is the real TikTok doc, and I hope to do a collab with him on this channel soon because he unfortunately knows about the surprising amount of numbers of mycobacterium outbreaks from plastic surgery, and also wants to help spread awareness on the plastic surgeon, board certified plastic surgeon versus cosmetic surgeon, which doesn't exist. That's not a real thing. If someone says they are a cosmetic surgeon, run. If they are a board certified plastic surgeon, that is a totally different qualification. And it's something that a lot of people don't know about. I'm going to let him cover that information because I'm not a surgeon and I want to make sure that I'm saying the right things. But anyways, so I was talking with Dr. Brown, and he explained to me that what happens is after surgery, like liposuction or BBL, some of these materials and equipment used in a surgery are sent off for a sterilization process. And I guess as part of the sterilization process, they do spore testing. And what happens is mycobacterium, we don't understand why it's popping up in ORs or why it's an emerging pathogen or why these cases are happening. No one knows the answer to that. Everyone who has gotten mycobacterium and doctors and surgeons who have been a part of that process, they just don't have the answers. We don't know where it was, whether it was the equipment, the vial that they injected me with. We have no idea. And unfortunately, other victims don't either. But Dr. Brown did explain that, a lot of the times these ORs are supposed to be doing a thing called spore testing. And the tricky thing about mycobacterium is regular sterilization process is not going to kill the mycobacterium. So for some reason, if mycobacterium is, if the spores are found on some of those surgical tools and then used on a surgery with the next patient, that's how these outbreaks happen. I also want to talk about a really, really sad story about a med spa where there was an outbreak of, I don't know if it was 5 or 30 people. I have heard and read a variety of numbers. Anyways, anywhere from 5 to 30 people were infected with HIV from a med spa located in New Mexico. They got microneedling done or vampire facials done. And this has happened from 2018 to 2023, where people who went to this med spa are now coming out positive and talking about how they received HIV from this med spa. So that's absolutely devastating. I mean, it's really sad because I think that, especially in my experience sharing my story, there's been a lot of victim blaming. Like, someone going and getting microneedling or even liposuction or even their breast done, before the fact, no one's saying like, oh my God, you don't need to do that. Like microneedling, don't do that. Like, don't fix the pores on your face. Like, don't get a facial. Like, a lot of these things are really minor procedures. Like mine, B12 or fat dissolving injections is not even like that big of a deal. Or, women who have gotten mycobacterium in their face or lips from Botox injections. It's like, it's not even that big of a deal. But whenever they share after the fact, then they start getting blamed for, oh, you didn't need to do that. And it's like, okay, stop. Let's stop it right there, because the girl who has the good boob job right next door, you're going to be like, oh man, those are some nice tits. But God forbid she go through mycobacterium and lose one of her breasts. And then you're going to say, oh my God, you shouldn't have been so vain and gotten boob implants. Okay. So I just want to like really point out that piece, because I get really sick and tired of not only a lot of the hateful comments come from men, but there's a lot of hateful women who are also commenting, things on people's posts and stories about similar situations. And it's like, you never know when it could be you. Okay. So let's be really humble and let's be really thankful for those of us who have intact bodies and who have never had to suffer through something like this. Anyways, I want to move on to a piece that I read in the news where it says the American Society of Dermatologic Surgery reports that its members have noted a 45% increase in the number of patients requesting treatment for complications such as burns, splotching, and irreversible pigmentation and scars from laser hair removal, chemical peels, microdermabrasion, and other cosmetic procedures performed by cosmetologists, estheticians, and others without adequate training or supervision. Dr. Steven Rosenberg, a Palm Beach dermatologist and member of the Florida Society of Dermatology, blames such problems on loose regulation. As it turns out, we're now finding that the big problem lies with med spas. They are not licensed under any category. There is no official department that regulates med spas. And this is the part that I just want to emphasize most, because everyone always seems so shocked, on my short form content, on TikTok and Instagram, when I talk about how these med spas aren't regulated. Restaurants are literally more regulated than med spas. Okay. There is no department out there that is going out and regulating these med spas, especially not in California and especially not in Florida. And from my knowledge and my research, Florida and California are some of the most popular places where these med spas are popping up, because cosmetics are very popular in big cities like Los Angeles and Miami. So just going back to this article, Rosenberg says that so much is going on without adequate supervision or real experience, which is very true. A Department of Health inspection of a Pensacola med spa called Body Indulgence revealed that an unsupervised medical assistant had been performing laser hair removal for more than a year, often with no supervision. It's illegal in Florida for anyone other than physicians, physician's assistants, nurse practitioners, or board-certified electrologists to perform laser hair removal. As punishment for breaking the law, the spa's supervising doctor, Michael Rush, was fined $1,500 and made to complete 10 hours of community service. And this is where I get so frustrated because, like, this doctor in Miami, for example, that infected those 20 girls with mycobacterium after doing lipo and BBL, zero consequences. Like, that man still has his license, still practicing. He paid for a couple of the girls' medical treatments, and 0 of 20 girls have been able to have any success in a lawsuit against this man. So when people say stuff like, oh my God, I hope you sued that med spa, I just hope you know that lawsuits are not that easy. I also will be having an episode with my lawyer where we dive deeper on why suing in situations like mine just is difficult and oftentimes not feasible for any of the victims like me. All right, so moving on, I want to talk about one of the most devastating stories regarding a med spa mishap. And this is about the Texas woman who died from IV therapy. And essentially what happened here is very similar to what happens at many improperly regulated med spas. Is they have a medical director. The medical director is hundreds of miles away. He simply puts his, license, his or her license on the med spa so that they can practice, and investors and anyone else that they hire at the med spa are able to do what they please with the clients. So Jennifer Cleveland, a Texas-based woman, died on July 10th of 2023 after receiving an IV therapy treatment at Lux Med Spa in Wortham, Texas. By the way, I grew up in Texas, and this is very close to Frisco, Texas, where I went to high school. Anyways, really sad because just kind of hits home. So long story short, this article talks about how Lux Med Spa's medical director, Michael Gallagher, was only ever on site at the med spa 3 occasions. The actual person who ran the med spa was named Amber Johnson. Of course, she was practicing under his license. And then, I'm sure she had a deal with him where she would pay him out a certain percentage of profits. The person who performed the IV treatment, Amber Johnson, does not hold any medical or healthcare license, and no other licensed health professionals were present on site, according to the report. The patient received an IV infusion containing vitamin B complex, ascorbic acid, B12, and TPN electrolytes. It goes on to say that the patient was found unresponsive shortly after the IV was started. Lux's staff initiated CPR and called emergency services. The EMS transported the patient to a local hospital, arriving at 12:17 p.m., and the patient was pronounced dead at 12:24 p.m. The board concluded that Gallagher's ordering of the prescription medication to be administered by an unlicensed and unqualified delegate without adequate supervision, oversight, or protocols presents a continuing threat for public safety. Here's the real kicker, guys. For these reasons, the board temporarily suspended Gallagher's medical license without a notice of hearing. A temporary suspension. Why are both of them not in jail? Isn't that crazy? This woman died. She was a mother of 3 children and a wife. And now there are 3 children out there who have lost their mother because of these. This is criminal. This is a criminal act. This is fraud. You're just allowing this random person to run services for you. No, you should be in jail. You both have to go to jail. So moving on, I want to just cover a few more stories that are similar. Basically, this one is about a woman who went to a med spa to get laser hair removal. Long story short, this girl went in for laser hair removal. By the time she got home, her legs were swollen to twice their size and covered with fluid-filled blisters. The next day, an emergency room physician diagnosed the woman, Bowling, with second-degree burns. Back at the spa, she discovered that the woman who had performed the procedure was a cosmetologist, and that the only doctor associated with the spa was a dentist who used his license to purchase the laser. Again, why are these people not in jail? Okay, let's go on. Bowling, the victim, filed a complaint with the Pennsylvania State Board of Medicine. The spa owner, Theodore Steliotz, DMD, was fined $1,000 for practicing medicine without a license, and Bowling received a small settlement from his malpractice insurance. Probably nothing compared to the second-degree burns that she had on her leg and the lifelong scars and trauma. And, that story is really unfortunate, but it's really nothing compared to a 22-year-old college student who planned to go to Premier Body Laser and Skin Clinic in Raleigh, North Carolina. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Raleigh, North Carolina, for laser hair removal, and was told to prepare her skin with this numbing gel. As she drove to the spa, she had a seizure and soon collapsed into a coma and died 8 days later. My camera died. The autopsy concluded that she had suffered lethal brain damage from an overdose of numbing gel, a potent combination of lidocaine, tetracaine, and phenylphine. Under North Carolina law, doctors are supposed to take a medical history or perform a physical exam before writing any prescriptions. The med spa had no doctors on site, yet the staff routinely dispensed this gel, which is safe only on small patches of skin. The state medical board concluded that Premier Med Spa and their medical director, Ira David Aretsky, had exhibited unprofessional conduct. His medical license was suspended for 6 months. Is that not insane? Imagine dying because someone told you to put numbing gel on your legs prior to laser hair removal. Absolutely insane. And again, these are just the stories that I know about. Like, there are so many other stories out there that I'm going to have to continue to have episodes like this, which I do enjoy having episodes like this because it allows, victims and people who have dealt with similar situations to feel less different. And that's a big part of my body positivity movement. The problem is not the people who want to go and get cosmetic procedures done. The problem is people, that are making it unsafe and who are unsafely practicing. The fault does not fall on anyone going out there who wants to, maybe get a tweak or Botox or laser hair removal or any cosmetic procedures. The whole reason why we have a board of certified plastic surgeons and people of the like and doctors who work in that realm of procedures is so that people like us can go and safely seek out these cosmetic procedures to be done without potentially risking our lives. The problem is, and I'm going to read this off of an article as well, no federal statutes or agency oversee med spas, leaving regulations and oversight to state medical boards who are already often stretched thin regarding both personnel and budgets. A growing number of people have shared stories of adverse effects, some quite serious, after med spa visits. The FDA released a warning about so-called fat-dissolving treatments at med spas after cases of cutaneous infections, some of which resulted in sepsis after these injections. By the way, sepsis is incredibly serious. You can die from sepsis, and I've had a number of people who have a loved one that have actually died from sepsis, not only from cosmetic-related procedures, but others as well. Anyways, physicians often provide their oversight from afar and are usually not on the premise for any of the procedures. Estheticians instead do the bulk of the injections and treatments. Only one medication is currently approved by the FDA to decrease cutaneous fat, which is Kybella. Also, by the way, guys, I didn't know whenever I was just a young and impressionable 23-year-old seeking these B12 shots that Kybella was the only fat-dissolving shot. So whenever I was told that deoxycholic acid, which is the compound found in Kybella, was also in these the B12 shots that I was receiving, I thought it was fine. I was explained that everything was fine. And, to this day, we actually have no idea what was injected into me. Also, I don't even know if I would say Kybella is safe, but I'm not a medical professional. And of course, some people are going to have varied opinions on that. Anyways, I have seen an alarming amount of people who have gotten fat dissolving injections that didn't develop mycobacterium, but developed similar infections like these cutaneous infections that they have been able to cure in a much shorter amount of time. But one thing stays the same is my scars and their scars. They look just alike. So if someone out there is offering fat dissolving shots, I would say stay away from it. Probably report those people. But then it's like, report it to who? Who are we going to report it to? I don't even know the answer to that because they don't even do anything. Anyways, and I want to cover one last story for today. Like I said, there's going to be a lot more episodes like this one where I talk about stories like this. But Texas authorities just arrested a mother and her daughter for allegedly running illegal butt injection operation. Consuelo and Isabella Dalbo are charged with unlawfully practicing medicine without a license. All right, Texas law enforcement, and again, this is in Texas where they have been doing something about stuff like this. So thank God they've been arrested. I wish the people that did this to me would be arrested by now. But anyways, that's California. Texas law enforcement officials arrested a mother-daughter duo who allegedly operated an illegal butt injection operation, offering to complete the medical procedure for about $6,000. The Houston Police Department conducted an undercover sting last Wednesday, which led to the arrest of 56-year-old Consuelo Dalbo and her daughter, 18-year-old Isabella Dalbo, who were both charged with unlawfully practicing medicine without a license. According to court records obtained by Fox 26 in Houston, the mother and daughter were at a short-term rental in Houston where they offered the butt injections. And just so you guys know, I'll put that on the screen. It even looks like this mom has cement injected in her face, or you know how they do the injections and it's not actually, I mean, she seriously looks like she's had cement injected into her face. That is so bad. All right, and that wraps up this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know there was a lot of information and probably everyone's jaw is on the floor, so you can go ahead and pick those up now. If you liked this video, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like the video, comment down below if you want to see me cover any other subjects on this channel. I'm more than happy to. Next week, I will be coming out with a more body positivity related video, so please make sure that you're on the lookout for that. I will be posting once a week. And again, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in to Beyond Skin Deep with Bia. Thank you for supporting my cause, and I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.